Hi everyone, in this video it's a kind of a continuation of some of my past video themes, and it's interrelated and interconnected to some of the past videos where initially I made a few videos where I talked about how when we um, are consuming a lot of retail products which are toxic or harmful or have contaminations in them, and when we are buying foods and drinks with pesticides or any microbial contaminations, and we may not know that these products have these contaminations, because many of us are yet to understand how these contaminations occur in the retail products that we purchase. And the reason why most of us don't know is because many of us don't work in these industries, or even if we work in one aspect of a particular industry, most people do not have this higher perspective view of where their products are coming from or how their products could get contaminated. Even the people who work in the industries themselves, they also sometimes do not have this deeper understanding of the products they are making or selling to someone. And because this deeper understanding of the life purpose behind any of the work that we do in life is missing sometimes in some people's life analysis and reflection, or deeper level repercussions of what they do, how it impacts others, this aspect has been missing for most of us. Even I was the same way previously. That's why I understand when we get lost and or are ignorant or are negligent about understanding the deeper aspects of whatever lifestyle choice we make in our life. But even if I don't understand what is the deeper repercussion to any single choice I make, nonetheless, despite my awareness of which choices might harm me, which choices might benefit me, if a choice I made is overall going to be harmful for me or my family, that will invariably happen. If a choice is overall going to be beneficial for me and my family, that will also invariably happen, irrespective of whether I understood if the choice was going to be helpful or harmful for me. So, because of this reason, most of us live very unconscious lives, and we continue because we are ignorant, we don't understand the deeper repercussions, we don't understand the long term consequences of certain choices or the far reaching aspects of certain choices. It is sometimes we lead very unconscious lives. And in some aspects you can't constantly be overthinking. That is absolutely true. We have to let life unfold the way it can unfold for us. That is true for every human being, and that is why a free will has been given by God. But what happens when we make some choices that are really harmful for us is that invariably, suppose for many years I kept making certain choices that were not health supportive for me. Like right now I put my phone in a particular angle where it was slipping and it was showing me, and this was a universe guide directed thing. Earlier when I've placed my phone in the same area, it didn't slip and fall this hard. But this thing that happens, like when we are slipping a little bit, universe is giving us a warning that you've made a poor choice, it's time for you to return and make a change. Now that slight warning the phone was giving me while I'm recording, I ignored it, thinking that no, the phone is not going to slip because earlier it didn't slip. And this is how we are in life. If we have made some wrong choices in our life or some misaligned with our higher or best life path related, some choices that we made were misaligned with our best life path. So we don't know it's misaligned with our best life path because we are leading unconscious lives. But even though I don't know that I'm making a choice that is unconsciously going to cause some problem, and what will universe do? It will give me a warning. So like that, and this is a very simple choice I made, where to place my phone when recording. So in this simple choice which I made about where to place my phone was slipping, universe is telling me this is the wrong place to keep the phone, you have to stack it a little bit better. So I ignored it. That's why the phone fell and this fiasco happened. And this is how our life is. We will get warnings, some warnings from the universe, we will get some warnings from people in our lives when we are making some choices that are not that greatly beneficial for us, good for us, or our loved ones. And even though we get these warning signals, most of us, thinking that earlier everything was working fine for me, continue with that same choice, right? But what happens is, if that choice was really going to be harmful, despite couple of warnings, if we didn't pay heed to why this warning was coming to us, like when my phone is slightly slipping, I can readjust the phone. Again, my phone slipped, I again readjusted it before it fell completely, because I do not want to stop the progress of this video that I am making. I can restart the video, I have that option too. But in life, do most of us have a option of restarting? Most of us do not have an option of restarting in many places in life. And that is why it is important that when we make some choices, we make as wise a choice as possible, as informed choice as possible. And if we didn't make an informed choice or a wise choice, we have guides who will help us, or we have friends who will help us, we have siblings who might help us. We come on earth with multiple people around us, on even strangers who may not even know us, but they are meant to guide us about something. That's why so many of us didn't come on earth knowing there is a person like BK Shivani, there's a person like Sadhguru, there's a person like Jeffrey Allen. We didn't know any of these human beings when we came on earth. After living 30-40 years of life on earth, when some life challenges and problems occurred, and people wanted to learn about spirituality, they go and read books about or posts that Sadhguru has created, BK Shivani has created, Jeffrey Allen has created. Whatever is your interest, where if you are you get highly motivated by some motivational speaker, even if you never knew that person for 30-40 years of your life, suddenly in your 40s or 50s you may start getting attracted towards that person's teachings or videos or posts or writing or a TV show, something that is meant to connect you with a stranger that you had never met previously. And in that connection lies your potential for growth. Once you connect with that person, how you connect with that person, in what level you're connecting with them, all of it will determine some of the potential for your growth and change and awakening. When or if we have led ignorant filled lives, immaturity filled lives, unevolved lives, and we are searching for an answer. We have asked the universe, I want an answer why I am so miserable. I want an answer why I am not getting the pay that I want in my job. I want an answer that this aspirational job that I want, why is it not manifesting for me? I want an answer that my friend has so many blessings in her life, why I don't have that same blessing. I want, like, say we have all these questions we have sent to the universe, we have prayed to God, I want this, I want that, I want that. But is life simply about wanting? That is the first lesson. And that's why when I made the videos about failures, in failures are not simply the stepping stones to our success. There is some silver lining hidden in those failures. And along with the silver lining hidden in those failures, the silver lining that won't show up until a few years, possibly few months, possibly, or few days, possibly, when you're going through a tough life situation, difficult life situation, uncomfortable life situation, cruelty filled also life situation, whatever situation that is happening and unfolding in your life, there was always a purpose behind it. And yes, the degree of pain you will experience in a certain situation, suffering you will have in a particular situation, some of it also you can invariably have a control of that process also. Not control, because there's a saying that you can only change that which you have the capacity to change. So if you have the capacity to change something, that aspect of it will change for you. But there are some things in your life that you don't have the capacity to change, and you have to leave it to the universe to change those things. And in those things that where you do not have the capacity to change, you do nothing. So that's why live and let live paradigm is there. That's why all these different philosophies and motivational speakers or religious speakers have all these different ways of expressing to you how to lead a good quality life, a life that is balanced and aligned with your life path. And that's why I'm making these videos about all these multiple topics that I'm making the video. They're all connected, yet in order to see the thread of connection between them, you have to either sit with me and see most of my videos, or in one of my videos only when I'm explaining a particular topic. It's because life is as complex as this long video. The mystery and thread of your life's puzzle is present like that in your life's self-reflection. So if you can sit through a video of 1 hour and likewise do the same self-analysis of your own life for 1 hour, half an hour, 15 minutes, whatever time you can give to yourself, for yourself, weekly, daily, in that self-reflection you will find the answer to all the questions you're asking the universe, or all the questions you're praying to gain and manifest in your life. But in all those answers, you have to also accept, when it talks about live and let live, when it talks, when people talk about sometimes, just achieving something is not as important. It is important yet not important. This is the duality of life. Many things. I want to have, say, $1 million home, if that is my vision. I'm not that kind of a person, but say I am that kind of a person who had a vision of $1 million home. And another person, I want, say, being a woman, I like jewelry, say I want a very expensive jewelry. That is my vision. Say another child, he wants to save money, that pocket money his parents are giving, to buy his Xbox game. So like that, every one of us has some vision of what we want in our future, right? What happens is, that is the desire that is given to us within our soul. Why? To keep going in life. If we don't have some vision, if we don't have something to look forward to, if we don't have hope, if we don't have a desire to acquire something, achieve something, do something, be something, it can become a very depressive life. And I have led that depressive life. That's why I understand what depression means, and I understand what, when people tell you that you should not have this desire, or when Buddha tells desire is the root cause of all suffering, people start also getting a little bit, what are you talking about? If you are a consumerism oriented person, like the American culture has led many of us to become over consumers of many products. But when we become over consumers of many products, which is what my previous video was, it was about overconsumption, and not simply overconsumption. Overconsumption aspect was hidden in that previous video. It was actually about companies supplying products thinking my target market wants this product, and it has already sold in the market for so many years without any problem, so I can keep selling this particular product for many years. So right now there's a water bottle right in front of this camera that is causing this white effect, and in that water bottle, this company has given me water in I have bought water for them, from them, many times over 20-30 years of my adult life, and even childhood days. How many years it has existed, that many years I might have bought some of their products. As a child, I didn't buy it, my parents bought it, but as an adult, I was the one buying it. So let's assume in the 20 years I have bought this product. Once when I was when I'm traveling, I'm buying more of their bottled water. When I'm at home, I'm using more of my home water supply. If there's some problem with my home water supply, then also I am consuming these bottled water. And this bottled water company started marketing to customers. Why? Because there was this need that when people are on the go, when they're going to office and they are thirsty on the way to the office, they want to buy a bottle of water in the railway station or in the bus stand, or while their driver is driving their car, they will stop at a roadside shop and buy a bottle of water. These are the things we normally do, because sometimes water being a very crucial element needed by humans. Sometimes if you get dehydrated, you will fall sick. So it is a urgent need, urgent health need also sometimes, because if you do not pay attention to your body's need of consuming water, having clean water access, what you end up doing is, if you drink unclean water, you will fall sick. If you drink polluted water, you will fall sick. If you do not have access to water for a longer duration than what your body can withstand that day, you might again fall sick. If you had to starve yourself of water because you live in a very drought filled area, again you will fall sick, and many humans die, especially in drought areas when rains are not happening, famines are happening, and water is scarce, right? So this is the basic thing needed. Water is needed. That's why these companies came up with bottled water. But though they solve the problem of having access to clean water constantly, now that the companies have been existing for decades in on earthly life, there are many bottled waters companies that exist in India, that exist in US, and I mostly talk about US and India because I've lived in these two countries. So when we have access to this continuous supply of bottled water, what is happening is, while we have got used to this bottled water supply, what has started happening, and while so many consumers are wanting to continuously purchase these water, we continuously use these bottled water, and we're adding to earth pollution by using plastic as the bottled water's container. So that's why anyone who is environmentally conscious, who doesn't want to accumulate the plastic pollution on earth, what have many of those people started doing nowadays? People want buy glass borosilicate bottles for their and continue and take a water bottle with them when they go to work, so that they don't have to buy water anywhere. Some environmentally conscious people have steel bottles, some people have steel plus glass bottle, whatever, different kinds of water bottles that are sustainable, that are less earth pollution causing, that has started coming up in the market now, right? But even though those things have come up in the market, our percentage of plastic pollution is still not reduced, because there are many other elements to plastic pollution that is continuing on earth. And then what has started happening is that, because of earth pollution, because of people's unawareness about earth pollution, people's ignorance about the sources of earth pollution, how the interconnectedness of our life leads to earth pollution, many companies who supply us bottled water now, even though initially they had very good systems that were giving us absolutely pure H2O and nothing else, nowadays, because of heightened earth pollution, even the mechanical devices that are used to process this bottled water, sometimes those devices fail, and we invariably end up consuming. We think that the bottled water I'm purchasing is going to be absolutely pure and have no problem, it will only have H2O. But if this manufacturing plant is near some tanning plant, and in that tanning plant's effluents are getting intermingled with the water supply that this bottled water company is giving to us, and there was some cross contamination going on for some reason, from air, water pollution, whatever related pollution parameter, some cross contamination happened. But if the manufacturer is not aware that the cross contamination has happened, then what will happen? If the manufacturer is not aware but a cross contamination has happened, that cross contamination will cause this bottled water to have some microparticles to macroparticles of some contamination in it. If my bottled water is in a near a sewage place, then some sewage might be there, which I found problem in railway water supplies, railway water supply, railway food in the last few years that I have traveled. Sometimes there is sewage related problems in the water that they are giving us, even though it's written that it's RO plus filtration device plus blah 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 water, even though it's written that, actually the water is not either coming from a machine that does all this purification, or even if it is coming from a machine that does all these 3-4 purification steps that the bottled water manufacturer has labeled it, but there is some contamination happening in their facility and plant that they have not investigated, and because they have not investigated it, it is continuously giving us a contaminated water. Then there are some railway has two problems that I found in India. One was related to sewage related problems in the water supply and food. The other is if it is not sewage contamination, and I'm not talking like it's direct sewage contamination, but some microscopic elements are there in the contamination. The second thing I found was contamination of the water used for cooking the railway food, because railways spray a lot of pesticides constantly in the railway tracks also, and certain pockets of railway stations I have found there is a heightened accumulation of pesticides. And in the food also, sometimes if they are serving you dal and all, sometimes it has happened to me, like say they have served you, I eat vegetarian meals in these long railway trips, 24-hour longer trips. In those trips, say in the lunchtime they serve you a vegetarian meal, there will be dal, there will be paneer, there will be at least 2 liquid dishes, and in both the liquid dishes sometimes there is this pesticide contamination, or one of the dish might have pesticide contamination, the other dish might be okay, because if they are getting it from 2 different vendors, if one vendor uses clean water, you get the clean food. If another vendor uses a contaminated source of water and doesn't know that their water source is contaminated, that contaminated water is now there in the food. And the impact of that food that we are eating now, I as a consumer who travels maybe once a year, twice a year, for me only one time eating a railway food will give me food poisoning. If it is a pesticide, it might make me vomit, it might make me give me diarrhea, it might cause heightened sweating, it might cause agitation and anger. Something like that can pop up either from acute poisoning or chronic poisoning, and I have made videos about pesticide poisoning in my past videos. You can check on that if you want a detailed information on how pesticides impact our health. But or even if it is not pesticide, sometimes it's microbe. But here is where there is a problem, and in scrutiny and understanding and discernment of normal human beings and the people who work in railways and even doctors. Because what happens is, many people in India, I have found this, even with doctors, I have had a hard time convincing them about this, because there is this perception that say I got food poisoning if I ate some contaminated railway food, street vendor food. And this problem with railways is also true of street vendor foods. It is also true of our own home food. If my home water supply is contaminated, even the food that I will be cooking in my home will also be invariably contaminated, unless right filtration devices were present in my home to filter out all levels of contamination from that drinking water. And that same drinking water that I might get from a packaged bottle, or I am getting from my tap, and my home's filtration device is then filtering it out, and I'm collecting it in a bowl and then cooking some soup or dal or something. But if my filtration device didn't filter out all the contaminants, some contaminants that are not filtered out will now go into that soup or dal or rice or whatever I cook with that water. And many international cooking to national cooking involves use of water. Without water, we don't cook many food. In fact, water is the healthiest way to cook many foods. When people go into dieting for when they have cholesterol problem, diabetes problem and all these things, many people eat boiled food, raw vegetables washed in water, all these dieting and health fitness regimes. We are using more of boiled things in those kind of cuisines. We try to reduce and eliminate the fat content in our food, things like that. So when you're eating all these healthiest food types, there it becomes even more crucial to ensure that the water that you're using for washing your salads, water that you're using for creating the salad dressing, water that you're using for boiling your potatoes and vegetables and whatever else you're consuming, and even the water that you're drinking. Because if you're doing a lot of health and fitness regime, energy healing, if you're doing prayers, meditations, whatever you're doing, water is required and crucial part of earthly existence. So water pollution is a problem that needs to be addressed as soon as humans can address it. And But the problem is most humans are unaware that water pollution's level and extent of pollution. Most people assume if they eat some poisoned food and they are getting stomach upset. Most 99% of the people I've met currently in India assume that if you're getting stomach upset from a food or vomiting from a food, your food is likely having some microbe in it, and most of them think it's E. coli, salmonella, some kind of bacterial contamination. Most assume it's a bacterial contamination. But sometimes your food can also have fungal contamination, and fungal contaminations are harder to detect than bacterial contaminations, and fungal contaminations can also give you vomiting or diarrhea or sweating. And because anything that is toxic to your body will produce some similar toxic exposure related responses. Same thing if pesticides or fungicides or other chemicals were there in my water, same thing again, it might make me vomit, it might make me sweat, it might make me poop. And then individual specific, these are the general symptoms that many poisons, be it microbial poison or chemical poison, they will have very similar toxic profile initially. And but if I assume that it has bacteria, if I know that, think that my water has bacteria, what have most humans been taught? That if you don't want to consume a bacteria ridden food or bacteria ridden water, most of us have been taught since childhood that we need to boil our water to kill the bacteria in it, and boil and filter that water and drink that water. Or you filter it first, then boil it, and then you drink it. This is what most of us assume. So most of us assume that if my filtration device has filtered all the contaminations, and then I boil my food and boil the water content of my food, and the water is getting boiled and heated under high flames, so any bacteria or anything that will cause me stomach upset like salmonella, E. coli, they are all going to die. This is what most people assume. But what is the assumption? The assumption is that there is some bacteria in my water. But what if it is a parasite? If it is a parasite, you might have to filter it and ensure that the parasite gets filtered. If it is a parasite, which parasite contaminations, worm contaminations, or if it is a fungal contamination, fungal spores can still go into your stomach, because while the fungus might die, if it's baby, like how eggs are there, where hen gives you an egg, and egg has a shell and coating to the outer coating, right? So that coating that protects the egg, like that fungus has a, fungal spores have a coating. That coating protects the fungus sometimes from not getting destroyed completely when it is in the spore stage, the egg baby stage of the fungus. So that baby stage of the fungus doesn't die sometimes, and you may still invariably, even if you've killed all the adult fungus cells in the water after boiling it, the baby cells are still there, the fungal spores are still there, and you consume and drink a water, drink a soup, drink a anything with that water. Now you have fungal spores in your body, and when the right temperature conditions and other conditions are activated in your body, then that same fungus that I consume maybe today from a bottle of water or a bowl of soup, that same fungus will impact my health. Not today possibly, the fungal spore might stay in my body for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then when the right conditions are set in my body, suddenly the fungal spores will release and the fungus will release, and I'll get a health issue. And a problem with fungal infections is, while bacterial infections give you high fever, fungal infections give you chills. And this is a distinction between fungal infection versus bacterial infection also doctors don't understand. And the third thing is, if you are really sick and say you consumed bacteria also, fungus also, virus also, and other contaminations also, sometimes there's such a hodgepodge of problems going on with your health that your body temperature will be basally normal, which happened to me a couple of years back. I had heightened inflammation, which was causing excess sweating, excess, like my body is feeling overheated. But during that same few months, some days my body was also shivering. Why? Because I had also fungal infection going on, combined with the heightened inflammation related responses. So there was a high temperature response and low temperature response fighting against each other because two different things were going on. And when the high temperature and low temperature were fighting, very rarely was my body temperature higher than above my normal body temperature by a few degrees. So it was not going only to above 100. So most of the time I couldn't explain to the doctor that I am really sick, but the doctor is not seeing high temperatures, so he is ignoring that I am really sick. Or the day I have really high temperature, that day I'm so sick I can't go anywhere. By the time I am little bit able to go to the doctor, the temperature has already fallen. And if the fungal infection is also going on, it keeps falling, not because I'm getting better from the reason that is causing the heightened body temperature, but the body's lowering of temperature is happening from the fungal infection now. So there are two things going wrong, but I'm actually doubly sick. But the doctor doesn't understand it. Doctor thinks I am normal because my body temperature doesn't look abnormal. So this is the problem when we have multiple sources of health harming factors going on with our body and going on earth. And that's why it is necessary that we start focusing on what we are consuming, what we are doing, and why sometimes we have to fail at what we are doing. Here right now globally, doctors and most of us are failing in understanding that if my water has bacteria, only then boiling the water is the best solution for killing the bacterial contamination, and I will not get stomach upset or any other symptom related to the water related pollution if it is a bacterial source. But if it is a pesticide in my water, if I actually boil that water, now the waters, if I am taken 500 ml water in a bowl and I'm boiling it, and after boiling it for a few minutes, from 500 ml it became 450 ml, like I'm cooked dal in it. Now my dal has 450 ml of water in it, and earlier it was 500. The chemical that was present in it, in 500 ml, say it was 5 grams of some pesticide that was present in it. Now earlier the ratio was 5 grams of pesticide in 500 ml water. After boiling it, it's now 5 grams in 450 ml water. So now the concentration of the pesticide actually has increased in per serving or per ml of the food that I will consume. So if you boil it, it doesn't solve your pesticide contamination problem. The only way to solve the pesticide contamination problem is ensure that your water supply doesn't have pesticides. Ensure that you don't use so much pesticide that pesticides are constantly contaminating everything on earth. Because pesticides are contaminating many things on earth, and at such heightened levels, that's why you have increase in cancer related to pesticide exposures, you have increase in other organ damages and other illnesses, anger, agitation, stress. These are all symptoms of chronic exposure to pesticides, chronic poisoning with pesticides. But what is chronic poisoning? Chronic poisoning is not that I keep invariably when people use the word term poisoning, people generally think poison means either someone handed you a glass of poison and you drank it not knowing you drank a glass of poison, or someone fed you some poison and you didn't know you are eating some poison or drinking some poison. Or people who want to commit suicide, they take a whole big jar of pesticide and they poison themselves. This is what the normal perception about poisoning is. But that is acute poisoning, when immediately I have consumed, someone gave it to me, or I myself consumed a large amount of something that was toxic. But when there is a pollution related poisoning happening, when there is a daily use related, exposure related poisoning happening, like say I work in the kitchen where that kitchen personnel sprays the kitchen every day with a cockroach repellent, then what happens is that is a pesticide. So when you are spraying cockroach repellent, and actually speaking, pesticides shouldn't be used around kitchen areas, but even though that is the norm that it shouldn't be used in kitchen areas, people still don't understand the health harm of those chemicals. That's why they invariably end up using it. and after using it they invariably end up contaminating the food they have in the kitchen, the food, the utensils, the water, everything that a kitchen has that is involved in our eating process. All those things can get contaminated when in the food area you're spraying these chemicals. And because when you spray, maybe I'm not able to see all where the microparticles of the spray are going, but invariably they go around in and get absorbed by your skin, get absorbed on the surfaces, get absorbed on the dishes that were lying open, get absorbed on the container that was open in your kitchen. So if you have a wheat container and your tin was open, it got absorbed inside the wheat container. If you had a plastic bag of wheat that was half open, you have tied the container, but none of us actually do a airtight packaging. Even if you have done a airtight packaging, if there are holes in the some plastic leaching has been happening, whatever the reason, sometimes invariably some chemical that has been sprayed around, and if you're spraying around regularly some chemicals in your kitchen or around your kitchen, they all get into your wheat, into your food, everywhere. And then when you're cooking with that food, now where is that? If I have eaten, I made a biscuit, I made a bread, or I made a roti with the wheat, all those products that I made with a contaminated wheat now has contaminated pesticide. If the spraying happened near my water supply, all the water that is coming from that dam or a river where spraying was going on, all that water has that pesticide, and now I consume that pesticide filled water daily, I will have chronic poisoning. Because while small amounts of poison or micro doses of poison initially can be fought by eliminating it via poop and sweat and vomiting, if every day you are consuming it, one thing is your body might forget to react because you're ignoring the vomiting. Maybe if you're feeling nauseous, you're ignoring it, or you're taking a medicine and deciding that after taking the medicine my nausea symptom is going away, that means I'm okay. But the medicine that is taken for nausea is only stopping you from vomiting, it is not detoxing you from the pesticide. Now what is happening, that pesticide is accumulating in the body. Sometimes these pesticides are toxic in such a way they will prevent you from they will eventually, after they have bound to many other parts of your body, they will stop the muscle functions of certain body parts. So that's why sometimes after long term exposure, which is called chronic exposure of pesticides, can cause heart attack, respiratory distress, it can cause you to even have constipation, it can cause your respiratory tract to clog. All these different responses can be caused by simply a pesticide. Like that, there are so many other toxins. There are soaps that we use daily, there are cosmetic products that we use daily. Because after you use a cosmetic, say I wore a lipstick, I sprayed something on my body, I washed my hair with some chemical, washed my hands with some chemical, each of them, if when 10 years back, 100 years back, earth had very less pollution in it, and most people were not consuming so many cosmetic and toiletries and other chemical products in our life. At a time, if I use one cosmetic or one small little bit of a chemical, my body wouldn't have been as much harmed. But currently in our modern generation, we use multiple products that can cause health harm. We're just not aware that many of these products add to our health harm. And if we were only using, most of these products have been tested in just separation. Like if I buy this lipstick and the company does some testing of whether this lipstick is harmful or not, they are doing a testing on a person who is, or if they are doing animal testing, nowadays animal testing is also not allowed in many places, so sometimes they do human testing. So if you're doing human testing or animal testing or whatever testing you're doing on a clean surface and assuming that only this one product is being used by that customer. But in reality, am I just using a lipstick that may or may not be toxic? If I only use a lipstick and nothing else, maybe I will not have a toxic response, because it's only even if the lipstick has some slight toxin in it, and because it's only one product, and say I'm only using it for 1-2 hours, it may not impact my health. But the same product, if it has some chemical that is harmful to my health, and I continue using it not just for 1-2 hours, I use it for 10-20 hours, or I want those long lasting lipstick, and they are also not simply that I am using it for 10-20 hours, I'm also using it daily. And also, apart from this lipstick, I'm also using other female products that also have some harmful chemicals in them. All those 10-20 chemicals now that I'm using daily invariably will have slowly a additive effect of harm on me. And while each of those products being tested might have shown to be less harmful or may have very, say, 0.1% of harm associated with them, but if I use 10 products with this 0.1% of harm, all of them can add up. Sometimes they will not simply add up mathematically, that 0.1 times 10 only will be the harm associated with it. Sometimes they have additive effects on the body, and there will be exponential harm also present in some of these multiple use of products. And then and it's not simply the product that is causing you harm. Some harm is also dependent on these products plus other things that you're doing in your life that add to your health harm. These can also be not simply, say, I bought a bad product, I realized I'm getting allergic to it, I threw away the bad product. But if all of us buy hundreds of products that are bad in a period of a year, and all of us decide to throw it away in the trash of our municipality, what is going to happen? That municipality collects that garbage of a harmful toxic product, but they have no idea, no way of knowing which home has disposed a toxic product. Those regulations are only not there in many countries. So toxic products just goes into the regular dumpster, and from the regular dumpster, it then they might burn it. Sometimes you don't know a product is toxic, sometimes you do know it is toxic. But either way, if there is no regulation for checking whether the product that has been thrown is toxic or non-toxic, all the products are going somewhere. And there, if there is a mixed jumble of 50% of the products are toxic, 50% are not toxic, but there is a large amount of pile of garbage in some city, they end up burning it. And then what happens when you burn it? That same toxicity, which was earlier only a contact toxin, while I washed my hands with a soap and I found it is irritating my skin, or applied it on my face and I found that cream to be irritating on my skin, or it is I had cancer, so it is aiding my cancer and causing me to have some cancer related symptoms escalate, because multiple toxins are acting on my body and causing some organ damage, organ failure related problems. Now all these are happening to me. I understand this deeply because I am a pharmacy related student, so I understand where the problem is stemming from and what the problem is doing in my body. That I'm a self-aware person, that's why I know it. So if you are a self-aware person, healthcare oriented person, really sensitive person, you will understand how a product is impacting your health. Now I know that it was only impacting me when it is touching my skin, or I'm drinking something and I drank fruit juice and the fruit juice has some contaminated chemical and I am having a health problem. So now I threw away that fruit juice because I took a sip, it was making me sick, I threw it away. But that fruit juice plus makeup products plus other products that I have thrown, plus other 10 consumers or 100 consumers of this locality has also thrown, because they are also sensitive to these products, they are also facing some health problems with these products, they threw it away. The municipality doesn't know which of these are toxic, which of these are not toxic, they just burnt everything. Now that thing that was only toxic to your skin, because it has got burnt away, it's not necessary that it completely gets burnt away and destroyed. Some of these chemicals, if they are really that harmful, after burning they can have the potential to increase the earth pollution by now putting that burnt chemical out in the air. There is some chemical reaction that happens, and now there is air pollution, not simply skin pollution. And that air pollution now, and that product that was burning my skin, now because it's up in the air because of some chemical reaction, and it has turned into a different chemical possibly, but that different chemical also when inhaled could impact my lungs, could impact my lung health, could impact my respiratory health. And even when you inhale, it is not simply about organ system function. Again, it can get absorbed into my internal epithelial cells, internal skin cells, and inside the body now my tissues and cells are now suffering because I have inhaled it instead of simply applying it, or instead of simply drinking it. Now it is absorbed in this area more than if I had drunk it. It might have been absorbed in my lower abdominal area more. So wherever the toxin is getting absorbed more, inhaled more, ingested more, accumulated more, that area then will have some health issue. You will have, if the toxin was accumulating in my stomach, it will cause stomach related health issues, stomach related organ damage. If it is accumulating more in my lungs, lung related health issues, lung related damage. If from the lungs it has transferred into my heart related health issues. If from the stomach after absorption and circulatory system it is accumulating somewhere in the circulatory system, blood related health issues. So like that, there are so many. Same toxin in my body, for me it might be causing heart problem. The next person who is also inhaling the same toxin, using the same toxin, for them if it has accumulated in their stomach, for them it will be stomach problem. Toxin is same, but the way it was absorbed, way it was used, how much of a exposure happened, where the product got accumulated in a person to person's body, all these factors will determine what kind of illness they eventually suffer from, even with one same toxin. And on earth right now, there's not one same toxin available anywhere on earth. We have multiple toxins. So that's why it is important that the products that we use consumer good products, be it a lipstick, be it a makeup product, be it a food product, be it a drinking product. It has to start becoming conscious purchasing of products that are safe for use, really beneficial for use, and not harmful to not simply our health, but now we have to start consciously thinking about rest of humanity, rest of society as well. Because every time I buy a garbage product, and I have tried to return, in my previous video I was talking about that if how much garbage should I accumulate, I have to say no to the garbage, then only the company will realize that, and company has to be willing to listen that they have sold some garbage products to customers. If the company doesn't do the due diligence to understand that the product that they are selling has some harm associated, and they are turning a blind eye, not listening to customer care complaints in the right way, not understanding why the complaints are happening, not doing the due diligence why returns are happening, these are the places where companies are messing up, and they are dealing with millions and billions of goods. So imagine millions and billions of garbage they are accumulating on earth. Either the company is accumulating or we are accumulating. But where is the, how do you stop all this? You stop by not even creating garbage products. You stop by not by understanding that business is not about, if I want to buy a toothbrush, that I'm getting 100 rupees toothbrush from X company and 120 rupees toothbrush from Y company. Earlier, all of us who didn't have a good socio-economic status, or our parents raised us in a very spendthrift ways because their socio-economic status was not good. All these reasons caused many of us to always seek the cheaper product. Always seek whichever is more cost effective, I will buy that. That has been the mentality of most humans. But now the problem is, if you are a good average middle class human of any country, or above average middle class income holding person, if you are actually not in below the poverty line and way above the poverty line at least, and you have a comfortable life, you have to start responsibly buying the products that you're buying. And when you're observing that the products that you're buying are not good quality, you have to also speak up. Because if billions of Indians don't speak up when they're getting a garbage product, you have now enabled a company to keep producing that garbage. Billions, and this is what is happening with every single, if it is a water bottle, if every single Navi Mumbaikar doesn't complain that the water bottle that I bought has some chemical contamination, bacterial contamination, if every single one of us doesn't complain, and if not just every single one of us, say at least 50% of us has to complain. If we don't complain, the companies are not seeing what is going wrong. If the companies, and even if after complaining, say even 50% is not complaining, 5% complaint should be addressed. Because 5%, if a Navi Mumbai population is still millions of people, and even in those millions of people of a one particular state of India, and a big particular economy enhancing state of India can't complain and do things the right way, then why are we living on earth with so many millions of people? And why we are not simply meant to be consumers of whatever comes to us. We are paying for whatever that we are paying for is not simply about, if they are giving me water, it has to be clean water. If they are giving me a drink, it has to be clean, pure, safe for consumption drink. If they're giving me a consumer good that they want me to buy after spending 50, even if it is 50 rupees product or 5000 rupees lipstick, whatever amount lipstick I am buying, if both of them have some chemical problems in them that is health harming, those products have to be slowly removed from the market. Right strategies have to be in place so that garbage doesn't keep accumulating in our homes, on our body, on our health, on earth. And people don't understand this, but this is the reason why when floods are happening in India, earthquakes have happened in India, tornadoes and tsunamis are happening in parts of India, when landslides are happening. I went to all these places where all these disasters are yet to unfold or have already unfolded a few years or decades back, and all signs of earth pollution related parameters that cause these places to have these kind of destruction was present in their daily lives way before a calamity struck that place. Because where earthquakes have happened, the epicenter, and for earthquakes this thing people have done, but not for many other things people haven't done this deeper analysis. But in earthquakes people can track the seismic activity of earth. So there are certain parts of India that are highly seismically active currently. Though they are highly seismically active currently, now the next due diligence is not that if the meteorological department knows that this area is seismically highly active and has the potential to have an earthquake in the future, all the systems currently know is we have to keep tracking it. When it is really high, we will track this was the Richter scale of earthquake, this was the destruction. This is all humans are doing currently. But you do need to do more, and you can do more. That is the problem. In many of these places, the disaster could have been avoidable and still can be avoidable. Because if seismic activity is say at 4, I don't know what is the seismic activity measurement scale, but say it is the highest seismic activity region of India. And you know this region has been highly seismically active for many years. That shows that there is some earth pollution going on underneath the earth. So if you actually start reducing earth harm or earth pollution in that area, that's and people can start doing studies based on this, they will and they should see slowly the seismic activity go down if they take the right measures to reduce earth pollution in that area. Same way where landslides are happening in those areas, what I observed, where I went say 2-3 years back, and then now I am not in the same area, but say I went to a particular state where landslides are very frequently happening or floods are very frequently happening. What I observed in that same another part of that same state where I went is that all these hilly regions where landslides and floods are happening, though they have large trees there, like in Kerala, I'll give example of Kerala. I went to Kerala a few years back, and in Kerala I am seeing that they have high pesticide use in their water. And even though these trees have sustained against that pesticide use for decades and centuries, a century-old tree is also falling down now with landslide and flood and washing away. Why? Because the roots are weakened, the tree is weakened. Even century-old trees are falling and washing away. Why? Because for years and decades, you have contaminated the whole of earth in such a way that a strong, robust tree that before humans started, because humans have started using pesticides about 70-80 years back, that was the time when it started getting used. So, assuming that 70-80 years back is the first pesticide that was introduced. So, assuming that particular state of Kerala or particular city of Kerala or particular hill station of Kerala has been spraying pesticides for 30-40 years. That 30-40 years of accumulation was causing minor tree damage on the newer plants. But people ignored it, thinking we have these tall older plants, so we are doing fine. Right? So the older plants kept withstanding it. Why? Because the older plants had another 30-40 years of living where they had a healthy life, where no pesticides were used, no contaminations were there on them. So those plants withstood because for 30-40 years they had good life, good health, good quality water, air, everything. They were healthy and robust. And in the next 30-40 years that the humans have used the pesticides, slowly the health of the trees have started deteriorating. And when the health of any tree, plant, animal start, even human starts deteriorating, on the outside I might look glowing and beautiful and everything, but on the inside and also a little bit on the outside, like these dark circles that are there under my eyes, that is indicator of some kind of organ damage happening in my body or organ malfunction happening in my body. Same way the trees also, trees will have darkening of the leaves, or if the spices you're getting in Kerala is very popular for spices, the spices you're getting from them, the spice will have the pesticides in them. That is showing that your water is completely contaminated if your spice now starts having the same contamination that the water of that area was having. If you used a lot of soaps in that area, then soapy, there's alkalinity of the soil might be high, because of which some trees start showing symptoms of alkalinity. If you have some other kind of chemical contamination there in the water other than just heightened alkalinity from soap use, then those chemicals are also showing up now in your fruits, in your spices, in your food, on the leaves, on the flowers. And what is happening in India or anywhere in India or globally, if you are abundant, what people do who are abundant, say I have planted 10 trees. I grow 10 trees or 10 plants, and those plants give me some 1-2 years of fruits or vegetables or flowers, whatever I'm getting from that plant. For 10 years they are fine, because my soil is not that level polluted. It can sustain maybe 10 years of a good plant life. But after that 10 years, if my plant has started dying, most people, instead of trying to do the deeper analysis, why did my plant die, what I should do better so that my plants last, and say the average life of that plant could have been 30-40 years. But because I'm not doing the right due diligence, because I don't have the knowledge of why my plant is dying now sooner, or I don't realize, even though I know that the plant is dying sooner, I don't care enough about it. What is happening is we're not doing the right due diligence. We don't know, or the person who's growing, the home gardener or the farmer who's growing that plant doesn't know, and he is rich enough, he's making enough money, so he decides my plant have died, so what, I'll go and buy another plant. So they go and buy another same plant. If it was like a pepper tree or pepper plant, they go and buy another pepper plant. It was a flowering rose plant, the rose plant has died, I'll just plant another rose plant. That is what people are doing, and they will just grow it for another 10 years. They're not concerned at the long term consequences of the choices they made. And that long term consequence actually takes longer than 10 years. Like if this one rose plant grew there very well for 10 years, and another 10 years, if the soil quality has deteriorated further, water pollution has increased further, air pollution has increased further, the next rose plant, even if it is the same rose plant as the previous one, the same variety, same everything, that next rose plant may not even survive 10 years. It might die in 7 years, 5 years. And this is what has been happening. And these are the plants that are dying. You can see the smaller plants will be dying sooner. Whereas the larger trees, they will not die sooner. But invariably, the day those larger trees are dying or completely their roots are rotten out and they can't hold on to the soil anymore, that's when a landslide will occur, that's when a flood will occur, because there are no trees to stop the pathway of no robust trees to stop the flood, stop the landslide. The landslide is not simply about torrential downpour. Torrential downpour combined with weakened plants and weakened soil and earth pollution, and no bacteria and microbes are there to hold the soil together. So the soil is just simply dirt and nothing else anymore. Because you use so much pesticide, so much fungicide, so much other things, the things that are needed to make the soil gooey, to make the soil muddy when water is... heavy rains are happening, that aspect is gone. The bacteria is not there, the roots are not there, the trees are dying and sick, they can't hold on anymore, because trees also don't have any nutrition if the bacteria and microbe and other soil nutrients are gone. How much ever you give them medicine, extra fertilizer, basic nutrition of the tree comes from the microorganisms and other biological systems. But if those biological aspects that are needed for the tree to survive have now completely gone, and only artificially it was getting injected to survive, it can last for a few years, but not enough to thrive or live. And one fine day, when the rain is too much for the tree slides down, and if all the trees in this area have nothing left, only no nutrition is there, no water is there, clean water is there, no clean food is there for the tree to survive, this tree will get washed away. And the reason why the flood is then washing away our homes also, same thing with our homes. There is nothing left for those human beings if they survive actually through those crucial, painful flood like times. Most of them have lost everything, because actually speaking, it was like a clean wipe out of the slate that God was doing for them, because those people were failing to realize what they are doing wrong in their life, that is enabling these natural calamities to unfold in the future. And these signs of these natural calamities are going to unfold are shown first by the smaller animals, smaller insects, start getting shown by the smaller plants, smaller trees, smaller children, elderly people. They are the indicators of where a particular city or a village or a town or a country is slowly deteriorating towards poor health. And when poor health is so much, and universe knows where poor health is really the maximum, even if the doctors in that area don't realize, even if the humans living in that area don't realize, there are people who know and there are people who don't know. But those who know, if the people who don't know don't listen to them, don't follow the right strategies to correct, and these are all rectifiable things, but there is a time to rectify certain things, and there is a time after which even if you try to rectify, it cannot sustain, because so much harm has been done. That is where and when real severe earthquake, drought and other natural calamities, or possibly wars, these are the things that unfold in those areas as a natural consequence that humans can't sustain life there anymore. There is a scarcity of everything, and when the scarcity is too high, either when the humans realize the scarcity is too high, they start fighting for resources, and war happens. When humans don't realize scarcity is high, but their bodies have realized, the whole planetary system of that area has started realizing the scarcity is too high, they all start dying via something or the other, or the earth only causes that area to crash and fall. So that's why understanding failures is important, because this is a failure, but this is a mass scale failure. And this mass scale failure happens when humans are not ready to take the minor scale failure, because the same place where these landslides are happening, if we had allowed the pesticides to stopped using pesticides, and allowed, like if I am growing 100 trees that will give me pepper as my crop that I will sell to someone, if I have 100 pepper plants, and out of 100 pepper plants, if pests are growing in my area, 10 of those plants will be destroyed. Now human has the problem that I don't want to see failure. So if 100 plants are growing there, I want all my 100 plants to sustain and live. So I will spray them with pesticide and fungicide, so that fungus and insects don't eat away my pepper and don't eat away my plant, thinking that humans have been using pesticides and fungicides for centuries or decades, right? That is the logic. But the logic is flawed logic, because what now is happening is, those 10 plants which could have died if you didn't spray a pesticide or fungicide or both in your plantation, those 10 would die, and they will die and give information to the soil how to reduce disease in that land. They will also die because after death their decomposed bodies will give the fodder to other microorganisms in the soil who need food, and then those microorganisms, after eating these decomposed plants, will then give nutrition to the other 90 surviving trees. This basic concept most human beings have forgotten, and because we have forgotten it, and we don't understand that always when good is there, a little bit of bad has to be allowed, so that the bad will do the work that the bad has to do there. But because we keep avoiding, we want all 100 plants to survive, we keep growing these 100 plants, but in these 100 plants, now the diseases hidden in those plants, now the diseases, not simply the fungus or the insect that could have eaten these plants, now the disease is coming from the chemicals that we sprayed, and we have actually nutritionally destroyed the 100 plants also, because enough the whole ecosystem of how to give the right nutrition to the plant has been destroyed by us, because we don't understand that right ecosystem. Second thing is, not simply the ecosystem has been destroyed, but along with the ecosystem we have added to additional harm, and that additional harm is now penetrating and going inside the pepper, going inside the fruit, going inside the vegetable that we are growing in our plantation, or the fishes that are growing in the water there, or the cow that is eating the food, and then the cow is polluted, then the milk from the cow is polluted. All this, there's a downstream cycle of the entire ecosystem of food that humans want to consume. One after the other, they are all polluted. And when the pollution level, none of the people are understanding, none of the people are able to process that some minor loss you have to take in order to not destroy the whole thing that was growing there, because people fail to understand that, and people don't accept the minor loss. Eventually, if 100 people living in a particular city do not understand, and there's only say 100 people population in that city or village, so say 100 families live there, and out of 100 only one person realizes, or none of them realize, or the one who realizes is too sick to make any change, then what happens is all of them will die, because there's no one to take the right steps to understand that if each of these 100 people make the right degree, allow the right degree of minor harm, you can live a long, healthy, balanced life for many years, that you're not able to see when you're not able to accept the minor losses. Whereas, because of the minor losses that you didn't take, and these minor losses, if you take it slowly, step by step, every year, if I allow only 10 plants to die, and I have 90 plants that are still surviving, and like that every year I'm doing that, over a period of 10 years, maybe 100 plants have died. But it was not a major loss. I didn't have a complete crop failure in the 10th year, because I allowed small crop failures initially. Whereas the person who keeps using pesticides, and for 10 years, 9 years, they may have a good supply, good health. It physically looks like they are giving these 10 kgs of whatever product they are selling. The fruit they are selling, they are amassing 10 kgs. I'm giving all these minor numbers, but say that 10 kg is enough to sustain them and give them money and whatever. So they are making a lot of money from it. They are thinking they're making a lot of money from it. But in the 9 years that they thought they are saving so many trees by spraying and all that, they were not saving it. They were reducing the quality of the spice, because this has also happened. People have seen that quality of nutrition, quality of spice, toxic contamination in spice powders, all these have increased in recent years. Why? Because if the right nutrition is not present in the soil itself, naturally, even if 10 years back I grew 1 kg of some fruit, and now 10 years later I'm growing that same 1 kg of fruit, if the soil nutrition has depleted because of all these activities that I was choosing to do, eventually after 10 years, that same 1 kg of product will give me half the nutrition that 10 years back it was giving. So even though I'm still producing that 1 kg, 10 kg product, but whatever kgs are the same number I'm producing, but even though I'm producing the same number, the quality is completely destroyed, quantity is completely the same. But what I'm getting, if 1 bowl of apples I could eat, and 10 years back from a tree I took 1 bowl of apple, and every day I could eat 1 bowl of apple from that tree that I had, and now 10 years later I'm still getting 1 bowl of apple, but it's not feeding my appetite, because that second bowl after 10 years now has less nutrition. Or now there is the third aspect, when the natural calamities start unfolding, at that time it's not simply that the nutritional content has gone down. Now another couple of years down the line, apart from nutritional content having gone down, the soil pollution is so high, my apple is not simply giving me less nutrition, that apple has, apart from less nutrition, high amounts of chemicals in it that are harmful for my health. So, and there are not enough, when there is not enough systems in place to treat you, not enough systems in place to check, because simply treating a person is not enough anymore on earth. You have to prevent that health harm from happening, because we are at that critical juncture. Anytime you are at the critical juncture where health harm can't be sustained, where diseases can't be sustained. That is why there was a pandemic also. Globally, so many people died because those are the places where the normal human life was not going to be able to sustain healthy humans from living in those areas. The areas where the pollution is highest, the areas of any country, any place, any city, any developed nation, non-developed nation, happy nation, unhappy nation, monetarily pursuing consumerism nation, or non-consumerist nation. Anywhere in the globe you are doing something that you think is the right way to live, but if you are still misaligned with the right ways of living, that is the place where humans are dying, either from human activities, direct human activities like war, or these indirect accumulated human activities where, because we didn't take the minor bad things of life, suddenly a mass scale bad thing happens, because people didn't learn the lesson from the minor things. Like how my phone was sliding, every time my phone is sliding a little, I can readjust the phone, get it back upright. Right, that if I detect that my tree is dying from X, Y, and the right reasons. The thing is, people use a lot of logic, but people are not in tune with their intuitive knowledge about what is healthy living. And because we got mistuned and misaligned with what is truly healthy living, some certain things about life on earth currently is misperceived healthy living versus real healthy living. And as a result, when the misperceptions about healthy living are too high, too distorted, too much misalignment is present, those places families, health systems, work systems, crop cultures, whatever is misaligned, that thing gets destroyed. And the one which gets destroyed the first, or the hardest, or the longest, or the worst, are the places where the worst mistakes were happening. And the only way worse mistakes, worse misalignment, worse misunderstanding, some combination of things was really bad, that natural disaster had no choice but to unfold, that death had no choice but to unfold, that destruction had no choice but to unfold, and some mass scale loss had to unfold. So if people really not want to go through this large scale suffering, large scale destruction, large scale pain, large amounts of problems, you have to start getting adjusted to be okay with smaller amounts of problems, and the right amounts of problems. There's this philosophical statement or phrase in life which says, know how to pick your battles. The thing is, human beings have lost sight of which battles they should pick and which battles they should just let go. And this misalignment also leads for us humans to make choices where we think we should kill the pests because pests are eating our crops, when the truth is pests are helping also with certain things related to crops, that only those people who allow the pests to grow will eventually understand. And I'm not saying that if there is a lot of pests that you shouldn't kill them, but there is a right level of pests that also has to be present in a crop. And sometimes when pests are killing away destroying a whole range of crops, that also sometimes has a purpose. Like say they had some toxic fungus or virus or bacteria in the crop that my eye is not able to detect. If I do some chemical test, the humans will take 1 month to detect, but in the sensory nerves and systems of the pest, if they eat it away, the problem is solved immediately. That whole crop has to be destroyed because it has some bacteria or chemical or genetic malfunction, which if humans consume, or other animals and plants and humans consume, it will cause more harm. So this is the thing, like every time some minor destruction is allowed, it prevents the major harm from emerging. But if you do not allow the minor destruction somewhere and prevent the major harm from emerging, then what happens is you thought that minor harm was a major harm, and you misperceived it, and you didn't allow that minor harm to happen. You stopped the minor harm from happening, and as a result now
there is no pest to eat away all the fungus and bacteria and virus. As a result, now I am eating the tomato or rice or wheat with fungus and bacteria in them. Now I will eat it, and then what I will get organ damage, cancer, and other associated illnesses from the molds and bacteria and other things that the pest would have eaten away if I had allowed the pest to do the right work. And this is so I hope this video makes sense. It's a combination of all the videos I've made in the past. That's why it's a long video. And if you do have any questions, please post a comment, and have a great day. Thank you.